Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, welcome to Tech Tuesdays. I'm gonna put my very mellow voice today because I feel like that is what the mood and weather is for. So first of all, thank you all for making it out here in this rain with this weather. So thank you guys for being here and for choosing to grow. As some of you may know, who's here for the first time? Okay, so we have 3. Nice. So for those of you that are new here, this is Tech Tuesdays. We are here at Red Rooster every Tuesday. And the goal of Tech Tuesdays is really to educate and provide new opportunities for Miami locals. And we do that in various ways. The first way being is by creating events like this, where each week we bring on amazing speakers to teach you about a new topic that you may not know of. The second way is by connecting people from all walks of life. We like to say that wherever you are in your tech journey, you are welcome here. And the reason for that is because in this room, you might come across someone that is a startup founder and is just starting their tech journey. You might come across someone that is an investor and might be looking for their next startup to invest in. And you might find your next tech transitioner that is just really finding their foot and trying to figure out how exactly to transition into tech. And we cater to all of that. That is what Tech Tuesdays is about. We are powered by The Source, and The Source is what I like to call our umbrella company. They are the ones that help entrepreneurs and small businesses. So The Source can help you with mentoring, it can help you with funding, and it can also help you with education. And we have our nonprofit, Tech Knowledge. And Tech Knowledge is really the one that helps tech transitioners get into tech. The way that we do that right now at this moment is that we have a partnership with Florida Memorial University, and we offer a free tech sales course. So that is the whole gist of Tech Tuesdays and our sister companies. Today, we're here to talk about mental health and performing at your highest peak. I have the honor of presenting Julie Jacques. She's a certified holistic health and wellness coach with a wealth of experience spanning diverse industries. In the past, she has excelled in tech sales and customer success, gaining invaluable insights into the challenges of the modern workplace. Armed with an MBA in digital entrepreneurship, Julie specializes in assisting busy professionals and employee-conscious companies. Having personally navigated the treacherous waters of burnout, including hospitalization, Julie understands the toll of excessive stress and consumption to toxicity, and exposure to toxicity can take. Her unique background positions her as a beacon of hope for those seeking a holistic approach to well-being. Studying holistic health and wellness for over 10 years, she is on track to become nationally board certified. Without further ado, please make an applause for Julie.
Thank you, Nancy. And hello, everyone. Given this mellow weather, as Anna Yancy said, I think I'm gonna get comfortable. I came with my jacket here. I'm gonna get a little comfortable as well, just to set the mood. I feel like this is a great intimate setting, so just bear with me. If that's okay, is that okay? Is that all right? Oh, okay, thank you. All right, so we have Thriving, a holistic approach to mental health and wellness, okay? All right, so I just want to introduce myself. I know Nancy did a great job providing a brief introduction, but I want to share a little bit deeper into my story. So as she mentioned, I myself worked in the tech industry. I worked in that space for about 3 years, and I worked mostly remote, but I also had a hybrid role. So there was a lot of me navigating and trying to find that, quote unquote, work-life balance. And so for myself, throughout my career, because I have a diverse background, I found myself burning out. And I actually burned out on 3 separate occasions. Right, so the third occasion, I was in the tech industry, and that one actually landed me in the hospital. right? So even though I had been already in the health and wellness space and doing research and that, like, for myself and for my family, like for personal reasons, I realized that what I was doing was not enough, and I had to make a shift, right? So that's what brought me here to what I am living now, and I want to share that with you so that you can see any areas that you can make a shift and make some adjustments, okay? So today we're going to be overviewing our mindsets, right? We're going to be overviewing, some areas that we can adjust in our schedule, and then we're also going to look at looking at things at our lives in a more holistic approach. Okay? And I want this to be kind of engaging. Well, I want this to be engaging. So I typically do a workshop. This is going to be a mini workshop, right? Because I'm trying to stay within the time frame. So I created a digital workshop, a digital workbook, and I have the QR code on the screen. So I'm going to try to step aside so you all can take a screenshot of that for the link. And you can have that to follow along. Okay, so with that, you'll be able to jot down notes and jot down some key things that you may want to start implementing into your life. Okay, so the title of today, does mental health matter? Okay, so by show of hands, do you think mental health matters? Okay, a resounding yes, a resounding yes, which is great, okay? So I think, and I'm glad to see that, and I believe in this day and age, right, we have been exposed enough to know, especially going through, the pandemic and so forth, we've been exposed to enough information now to know that it matters, right? But why does it matter? Okay, that's what we're gonna dive into. Okay. Mindset and mental health, right? So in being in any workspace, but especially the tech space where it's fast-paced, you want to make sure that you have the right mindset, which will be the growth mindset, okay? Because it's fast-paced, you should understand that, okay, you know that there's going to be things that are changing, technology is always evolving, and you have to be ready for that change. It's not like, oh my gosh, we were just getting used to this, now we're going to switch into something else. You can't have that frame of mind, because if you do, then you're going to position yourself to get stressed out, essentially, right? So if you want to position yourself to have less stress, you want to make sure that you are anticipating the change, okay? Right? And then awareness, right? So you need to have awareness of when your mental health is getting to an area of concern, okay? And so I have here some things to look out for, right? Signs, right? If you're starting to really feel stressed, right? You're really starting to feel anxiety, okay? Right? And then burnout, right? So that was my my clue, my sign, right? But the thing is, you really don't want to get to that point of the burnout. You really want to be able to get to the point of self-awareness so that you understand that, okay, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more stressed, I'm getting more anxiety, I'm feeling overloaded. I need to take a step back and see what areas in my life that I need to adjust. All right? So with that, with prioritizing your mental health, right, you want to take a look at mindfulness practices, right? So there's a lot of things that are out there right now, a lot of different apps like Headspace and Calm and so forth. And there's a lot of talk about meditation and yoga. So you really want to make sure that you are positioning yourself to prioritize and take time out to do these practices so that you're putting yourself in a position to really thrive, right? To have that platform and that space to take time for yourself, okay? Okay, so as you're following along, and I just want to mention, In the workbook, there are some interactive activities. So if you have some mindfulness practices that you have in mind that you want to take, that you want to do for yourselves, you can jot that down. Does anybody have a favorite mindfulness practice? Let me actually go back. That they would like to share with the crowd. Yes?
Affirmations.
Affirmations, right? Morning affirmations. Doing that, starting your day off with affirmations, right, is a great way to get yourself going and having that positive mind space. Okay. All right, another thing that I realized that I needed to make a shift in was in my schedule, okay, and organizing my schedule. So I was doing all the things. So myself, I'm a mom of 2 little girls. I was then married, so I was a wife. I'm a woman that's all about family, all about friends, and showing up and being present. And so I was doing a lot of the things, okay? Going to school, going to work, starting businesses, doing it all. That was me, right? And so I didn't understand that I needed to push pause on some things, okay? Not that well, some things I need to stop, right? I just need to say, okay, this is not, this doesn't make sense for the trajectory of my life, so let me just put that aside, right? That could be for someone else. But I also need to see that I needed to pause on some things, right? I was overloading myself. And so with that, in organizing my schedule, I needed to make sure that I had that time management, okay? Making sure that, okay, nowadays I live by my calendar, okay? I make sure that whatever I'm prioritizing, that is on my calendar. And if there are some things that are great to do, maybe if I have enough time for that, maybe if I finish something else early, then I have a list of those that will be great to do, okay? So really prioritizing my schedule, making sure that it is balanced in the fact of taking a breather. There was a tech job that I had where it was set for me to be on calls and having these Zoom calls back to back to back to back. The only break I had was lunch, and that was it. That was unacceptable. I could barely even use the restroom. It was really bad. It was really bad. And so coming from that, I realized, okay, this is not going to work, right? And I had to communicate that it was not going to work. And I eventually, I had to step away from that environment because there was an agreement there, which is okay, which is fine, okay? But again, you have to make sure that you honor yourself enough to prioritize that communication, okay? And not only do you want to make sure that you have that time management by following your calendar, making sure that you're scheduling in breaks, okay? Making sure that you know when to say no, or sometimes it can be not yet, right? Just always making sure that you're not overcommitting yourself to something that you cannot fulfill, okay? And I will share one of my favorite calendars that helps me later on, that helps me with balancing both my personal and my professional lives. Okay, so here is the secret sauce here for me, right? The power of conscious consumption. That's the secret sauce for me. And that's where we're gonna look at the holistic approach, okay? So when I say holistic approach, that means looking at every area of your life. So yes, your personal, your professional life. Yes, the mental health, as I was mentioning. But then there's also other areas like your physical wellness, your environmental well-being, right? There's also your spiritual wellness, your financial wellness. But there's 3 core ones that I'm gonna talk about today, right? But all of these things matter because they're all interconnected. Each one affects the other, right? Where there's one lacking, it will affect the other, okay? So what I learned about the power of conscious consumption is the fact that if I am not aware and being mindful of what I'm exposing myself to, it can be to my detriment. And that's what I found landed me in the hospital, okay? It goes into, if we're talking about the physical wellness, right? What are you consuming internally, right? The mental wellness, what are you consuming in the mind? What are you exposing your mind to, okay? So let's dive a little bit deeper into that, right? So the thing with that is, I like to also consider myself as a toxic-free advocate, right? So I live my life now toxic-free. I have a toxic-free lifestyle, okay? So I'm making sure that in all of those areas is toxic-free, right? Because, and toxic-free looks different in each one of those areas. But I make sure that it's toxic-free because I want to make sure that I'm protecting my mental well-being, my energy, so that I can show up and be present at the utmost 100% in the day. Okay, so can someone tell me, before I dive into it, what they think toxic-free means, or a toxic-free lifestyle means? If they can expound. I know I showed a little bit, if you can expound on that a bit. Yes?
I mean, avoiding things that trigger you is one way.
Yes, yes, that is one way. And I was going to expand on that a bit. What else? Does anybody else have any other thoughts? Yes?
I think generally just things that are not conducive to where you're trying to go.
Okay. Yes, yes. Is there one more? One more before I get going. Okay, well let's dive into it. All right, so let's talk about the physical first, okay? So we have here physical consumption, right? And we're, most of us here are text professionals, right? Or want to get into the tech space. But nutrition, okay? If you are eating things, consuming things internally, right? That will give you the itis, right? After lunch, okay? Do you guys know what I mean by getting the itis? Okay. If you are consuming something that's going to give you the itis, that is not toxic-free, right? That is toxic to your energy. Okay, so how are you going to show up to work? Or how are you going to show up to your family if you're down and out, right? If you're dragging yourself, right? So you want to make sure that what you're consuming is high energy, okay? I go deep into it, right? I'm to the point where I'm looking up, well, first of all, I like to shop mostly in the produce aisle, right? But even if there's something that has a label, I am mindful to look at the ingredients to see, okay, is this toxic free? And I get to the point where I even have to use tools, because sometimes there's things on the ingredients list that we can't necessarily understand, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that it is toxic, but you want to make sure that what you are eating, what you are drinking, that it is conducive to your overall well-being, right? And you want to make sure that you're doing that 80 at the least 80% of the time, right? Because the goal, you want to make sure that 80% of the time that you're doing what you are trying to achieve, what your goals are, right? Okay, so regular exercise, okay, movement. You want to make sure that for me, I feel like it's best to start your day, but depending on how your schedule is, you may not be able to start your day with movement, but if you're getting movement every day, even walking, right, that will help to boost your energy naturally, right? That will also help with getting, like when you're sweating, eliminating toxins that you may consume in your body, whether it's known or unknown, okay? And hydration, right? So hydration is important because, our body needs that to function, but I also look into hydration as being important because it helps to flush the system, right? I'm big on, I said I'm a toxic-free advocate, I'm also a detox advocate, okay? So because we are constantly exposed to so many things in this world, so I do my best to make sure that I'm detoxing my system so that, to limit exposure, okay? All right, so mental consumption, right? So our mind is exposed to many things on a day-to-day with all of this technology, right? So we want to make sure that we are mindful of what we are listening to, the music, the television, what are we reading, right? What is it positive, right? Because if you're having negative energy coming in that you're listening to or that you're reading, right, you can in turn have that negative self-talk, and that is not going to be conducive for yourself. Okay, that in turn is going to put you down and make you susceptible to having that stress. It's going to be very difficult to manage stress or to limit stress if you are in turn yourself stressing yourself out with that negative self-talk, okay, or stressing yourself out with the news. So yes, it is important for us to be knowledgeable and aware of what's going on around us, right? But are you just leaving yourself out in the open and exposed to that on the television or on social media? Or are you limiting it and positioning yourself, like taking it at bite size so that it is not overwhelmed? I remember there was a moment, there was a time I had a job interview, and in the afternoon that morning, I had heard some things about something that happened with these kids nearby in my community, and they were lost and so forth, and it really affected me emotionally. And in turn, I didn't do so well in the job interview, right? And I knew that as soon as the interview was over, in which I typically do, I fare well. And so you want to be mindful of what you're exposing yourself to, because that will affect how you, again, show up in the world. Okay? So some positive habits that you can have, right? So social media. Who are you following on social media? Are they positive accounts? Okay? What are these people saying? What are they posting? Okay, I typically, I'm mindful of that, right? But sometimes I'm networking and I'm connecting with a lot of different people, and then sometimes I'll get the surprise and I'm looking at my feed like, what is this? who is this? And I'll have to go on their page, on their profile, to see like, okay, this is what this person is about. I'm not really about that. If they're about that, that's fine. Then, I'll unfollow. Or maybe it might be someone that you actually know, a family member or a friend, and you're connected with them, but you don't necessarily want to indulge in what they want to share every day. Okay? And that's fine. So you may not unfriend them or unfollow them, but you can definitely mute them. So you don't have to have that exposure. Okay? And my favorite is having that digital detox. So I'm big on taking breaks on social media. I've done that quite a bit. Sometimes, most times they have been unannounced, and then I'll have to pop back in and say, hey, I'm back. But yes, it's okay to give yourself breaks. You don't have to be on social media all the time. I understand, like I'm on it for, business-wise and to connect with the community, but I do allow myself breaks, as you should as well. All right, so my favorite here is making sure that you have a toxic-free environment. And that can go every which way. On this slide, I shared more so about like your space, like your physical space, okay? So is there clutter? Do you need to declutter, right? If you have chaos surrounding you, you're gonna have chaos in the mind. How are you gonna be able to focus? Okay, so you wanna make sure that is the air, what about the air quality? Okay, you wanna have that, cleanse that as well. Maybe have an air purifier, maybe I would say, open the windows, but the depending on where you live, if there's a lot of construction and so forth going on, it may not be so great outside, right? But, do your best to try to clear your space, minimalize as much as possible. Don't hold on to things, don't hoard onto things that you don't need, right? So again, you want to make sure that your mind is clear so that there's no chaos, right? But in addition to what I have here, so I said tech devices, okay? are you digitally cluttering? Okay, and I'm gonna pull some people out because I had to take a look at that myself, right? When you are working on your computer, do you have multiple tabs open? Yes, okay, right. So you wanna check that too, right? You don't wanna have 10, 15 tabs open and you're just working on one thing. You're not multitasking. I can guarantee you're not working on all those things at the same time, okay? So try your best to limit how many tabs you have open and do a digital decluttering and just focus on what you need to focus on. And then when you're ready to move on to the next thing, then you just open that back up, right? Because otherwise, again, you're gonna have that visual of chaos there, okay? Some other things that we wanna talk about that's in your environment, that's not on the slide, okay? Who do you have in your space? What people are you surrounding yourself around, okay? Are they negative people, right? I was talking about people you're following on social media, but are the people that you're exposing yourself to in your personal life, are they always talking about negativity, okay? Sometimes you may need to take a break from them. Not saying, stop being friends with them or connecting with them, but you may have to distance yourself a bit so that you don't have to be affected by that negativity, okay? And then if it's in your professional space, your professional life, we have limitations on how much that we can distance ourselves with, right? Because we have meetings with these people and so forth. But again, do your best to limit that communication so that it is not affecting you. Because I guarantee you, it will translate and it will manifest in you in ways with the stress and with how you're able to effectively do the work. So, be mindful of that and try to work on that. Okay? All right, so bringing it all to a close, right? Bringing it all together. When we're talking about limiting stress and preventing burnout, we want to make sure that we are keeping ourselves aware, having that self-awareness, limiting ourselves, like every areas of our life, limiting the toxicity that's within them so that we're able to position ourselves to have more energy, natural energy throughout the day so that we're able to show up and be our best selves and push that burnout to the side. Okay? So I have here, so one of the things that I do, as Nancy said, I am a certified health and wellness coach. I do provide one-on-one coaching as far as helping with behavioral change to make those shifts. It's one thing to identify that you need to make a shift within your life, but then it's like, okay, how do I do it? I have some insight, I have some knowledge, but I just don't know where to do. I just don't know where to start. I don't know how to make that shift, especially with my demanding schedule. So I'm the one that will help you with that. So you can, I have some QR codes here, where this one here on the left, you can get my contact information. It also has my social media where you can follow me. I'm on Instagram at Naturally Versatile. On LinkedIn, you can find me at Julie Jacques. And then if you would like to have a complimentary wellness discovery session, this QR code here on the right, you can book a 15-minute session with me as well. So I do want to give anyone a chance to ask any questions if they do have any questions for me. Yes?
Are we clapping first?
Oh, someone has a question.
Yeah. So, you started off the conversation telling us a little bit about burnout. Give us some of the precursors that you noticed in yourself leading up to burnout, and how you can notice these when you are working amongst other teams or with other people around you, so partners.
Okay, so
Can we repeat the question so the audience
yes,
can know?
exactly. I want to make sure that I'm understanding your question correctly. So you're asking me what are some things that I noticed before the burnout, that was leading up to the burnout, and then how was I able to manage that while working within my professional life? That
How do we notice those, or how can we catch those in people that we're working with, so we don't push them to burnout?
Oh, how do we notice that, like, for our team? Like, if we notice that within our team, other people? Okay. So one of the things that, well, some of the things that I noticed was that I would become irritable, or I would be very tired. I was tired a lot. That was a big one. So being tired, being irritable, and to the point where I'm just stressed out. So noticing that in your other team members, because I've noticed that as well, was that in turn the tiredness, them being stressed to the point where, like in conversation, you can hear it, and I'm trying to see how I can put it into words because I can catch it, I can see it, but it's like, how do I translate that in wording? It's just the way that they're communicating. They're showing in their words, but in their posture and their mannerisms that they are stressed, right? And it's just letting them know, like, it's okay, just emphasizing to them and iterating to them that it's okay, if you're not able to, get this done at this initial deadline, we can work something else out, just, having that conversation is what's really key. And that's what I've noticed with all of these things, is having communication is very key with these things. Proactive communication. Okay? All right, did that answer your question? Okay, all right. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Yes.
Ladies first.
Ladies first, okay.
So you were talking about toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you're in an environment that you can't necessarily, walk out of it, like certain individuals that you can't necessarily shut out?
Mm-hmm.
How would you address something like that?
Great question. Great question. So just to reiterate for the mic, if you are working in an environment where there's a lot of toxicity in the workspace, how can you mitigate that, or how can you manage that in working in that environment when you cannot necessarily step away from the environment? So one is putting clear boundaries, having those boundaries, and not swaying from them. Because if you sway from the boundaries, like once you go a little inch away, then people are going to take advantage of it. So start with having boundaries in place so that they can, and sticking by them so that they can be respected. Okay, so that's one thing. Also, going back to making sure that you're adding into your schedule certain things for self-care and for mindfulness. So making sure that you have those things every day, that's just your time, right? That pours back into yourself. That is what's going to help you to manage and to get through the day-to-day, because it will be daunting, right, being in that space, but that will help you to get by until you can figure something else out. Because I would suggest not to stay in that environment, but I understand, like, okay, we gotta pay the bills, we need that income, there's nothing else, lined up at the moment. So as you're working to shift away from that environment, making sure that you're prioritizing certain things that will pour back into yourself. Okay? And then okay.
I forgot my question. Okay. Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. And I think what you're touching on is something that people are lackadaisical about, because they just go about their day, they just work, and that saying goes, I'll sleep when I'm dead, right? But people are just dying progressively, not even slowly, but progressively if they're checking their vitals. So on a day-to-day basis, what are certain things that people can instill so that at the beginning of the day, they started off right, and they can end the day right with everything in between that sandwich?
Okay. One thing I want to point out, it is important to get your sleep. Okay, that's another thing. I wasn't getting enough rest, and you need to have at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep to be able to fully function within the day, have that natural energy. So I'll just say that, right? But as far as starting off your day and ending your day, put certain routines into place, right? Create a routine that best fits your lifestyle. Create a routine that to where you're able to implement it, and to the point where sometimes you won't even have to think about it. That's just, that's what you're gonna do. So in the morning when you get up, you can start off with meditation. I like to stretch. Right? I like to start off with, I'll sit up. I don't want to rush, I don't want to get up rushing. So I set my alarm to where I can get up, I can sit up for a moment, gather myself, I'll stretch. I have a routine where I stretch on the bed. I don't get off the bed to stretch, I kind of stretch on the bed. I do other more extended stretching, later, but I'll stretch, then I'll get up, and I'll get my mind, going, thinking about the day and what I want to do, and then I get going. That's for me, because for me, again, as a mom, I have my girls, so I'm getting 3 people ready in the morning, so that's what works for me. But for others who have a bit more time, you have a question? Okay, I'm gonna get to you. Thank you for letting me know. So for others who have a little bit more time in the morning, especially if it's just themselves, right? You can, get up, have some mindfulness meditation or prayer, whatever works for you. You can journal in the morning. I typically like to journal at the end of the day, and to clear my mind so that when I lay down to rest, I'm not dreaming about what's been going on in the day, right? My mind is clear. And then you can exercise. I love, so when it's not school, when it's in the summer, I love to start my day with working out. So I can either do some Pilates in the house, or I'll go outside to get some sun, and I'll walk around for about 30 minutes. I love that. I love to work out in the morning because that's a great way to get the blood flowing, the body moving, and so forth. And then ending the day, again, journaling, you can stretch.
If you're not stuck working on your computer and you're taking calls, I do chair yoga when I'm talking to my clients.
Chair yoga, yes.
Because it keeps the blood flowing to my brain, and it gets a little, it's not too much of a, I'm not breathing hard, so they don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's still a little bit of a workout and a stretch, so you feel better.
Absolutely. And we need chair yogas, right? Because working remotely, or working in tech as a whole, right? We sit a lot at the computers, so we need that movement throughout the day, right? But it's also great to have some small movement. There's I forgot what it's called, but there's a yoga that you can do, a short yoga that you can do to, get your body ready to rest and so forth. And so it's a long-winded answer, but have a routine to start and end your day, so that those are moments where you're prioritizing yourself. Okay? Did I answer your question? Yes. Okay. And then there was a question over here.
Thank you so much. These topics are so essential, so important and valuable for us. My name is Jorge, and I'm curious, I wanted to ask you about reflecting on the use of, again, these devices in our bodies. We've been using it for 20 years or so or more. And I really feel like is this a discussion that we should have where, when it comes to mindfulness and our bodies adapting to these devices, or perhaps overusing them? I wanted to hear your reflection on that.
Okay. Devices you mean the phone?
Just phones.
The electronic devices, and exposing ourselves to that. I like to. It's difficult these days, especially with the type of work that I do, to limit my exposure to technology. But I try to make it a point to not pick up the phone first thing in the morning, right? So I guess I turn the alarm off, right, when it goes off, but I put it to the side. I'm not really on the phone in the morning. I don't want to start my day off with that because then the mind starts going like, okay, what's the next thing to do? You're just going, right? I like to ease into the day. And then at night, right, you want to make sure that you don't catch yourself with the scroll, right? That deadly scroll before going to bed. You want to give yourself a good amount of time before you lay down, like put the phone down and give yourself a break to actually have a peaceful rest. Okay, so maybe at least, at the very least 30 minutes, but aim for about an hour or so to step away from that device so that you can ease into your slumber as well. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Okay. And then also have times throughout the day where you give your devices a break as well. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, well, I appreciate you guys having me today and listening and engaging with me, and so I hope that you're able to take at least one thing that you can, from today, that you can implement into your lifestyle. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. So I'm not going to hold you guys for much longer. I do want to let you know about some upcoming events that we have going on. The first one is we have Startup World Cup happening this Saturday, September 14, at the Adrian Arts Center. It is a free event open to the public. You can bring yourselves, you can bring your neighbor, you can bring your cousin, your daughter's father, anyone, boyfriends, anyone. So you definitely want to be there. It's the first time that it is being held in Miami. We've gotten tons of traction, and this is the final event where we get to choose the Miami regional champion that is going to San Francisco to compete for $1 million. So if you guys have not signed up for it, there's the QR code. It's a one-click thing. Do so now. I'm gonna hold for like 5 seconds in case you guys want to, and I'll get out of the way. Okay, the other thing is next Tuesday, we actually have George Cortez. He's going to come on and speak about, it's a long-winded, but basically we're calling it Creative Freedom, Your Guide to File Sharing Ownership. So it's all about blockchain and file sharing, there we go, ownership. So that is happening next week. You guys can also RSVP for it right here. And you can come and ask George any questions because he's right here and available. Oh, huh? You need it again? There you go. And the last thing I want to mention to you guys is you can stay up to date with us on our WhatsApp. So we have signs over here to scan and join our community. Up there, Cherish, our beautiful recruiter who's right here. She is dropping in, honestly, on a daily basis, just like new jobs available and opportunities. She also is a person to talk to if you need resume help. I know some of us might, so I'll connect you now. Sorry, didn't mean to put you out. But she's a person to talk to if you are looking to transition and find new job opportunities. So yeah, join our Tech Tuesdays WhatsApp and also follow us on Instagram, Tech Tuesdays Miami. That is it. Thank you guys for coming out today.